That's pretty. I think that's easy. I think it's when Apex was named the #1 place to live by Money Magazine. I believe it was Money Magazine, and a lot of their emphasis when they wrote the article and put out the publication, a lot of it was quality of life, and a lot of it was the parks and the greenways and the special events, and that really made me feel good that that was such a big focus of that award. I mean, there were a lot of other things. That obviously wasn't the only thing, but the picture on the front of the magazine was a picture out at the community park with a family out there. And there was just a lot of emphasis and reinforcement on the parks and the greenways and the quality of life and all of that. So that probably made me the proudest of anything. Many years ago, there was a fish kill out at Apex Community Park Lake, and town had never been through anything like that before. And I remember myself and 4 or 5 of the maintenance guys had to go out and buy waders, and we actually had to get out in the lake and clean up the fish. And we were trying to do it as quickly as possible. And all of a sudden, WRAL rolled up out at the community park, and come to find out, it wasn't just Apex. Cary was having the problem, Raleigh was having the problem, and this was probably 25 years ago, but Apex had never been through anything like that before. And so we're out there in these waders in the mud, and we've got dead fish all around us, and we're putting them in 55-gallon plastic trash cans. WRAL rolls up and starts taking pictures, and you know, it was a situation where the oxygen levels in the lake had turned over, and it had caused the problem. But that was pretty, you look back on it, it was funny, but at the time it was, you know, a little scary because you knew you were going to be on the news that night. And, you know, so that's probably one memory that I'll never forget that day. I would say probably if I think back on it, probably the when we adopted our first master plan and we adopted our first greenway master plan, and that was probably back in the late 80s, early 90s, and that led to the town's first park bond in the 90s, in the early 90s, which was approved by around 90% of the voters. And at that time, that was the highest percentage of approval of any park bond in North Carolina's history. And so that was a huge deal because in my mind, it showed the commitment that Apex was making to public parks. And, you know, so that was, and of course that led to more down the road, and every time the approval ratings were so high by the citizens that it just reaffirmed their commitment to public parks and sort of reinforced what we were doing as far as serving the citizens and giving them what they wanted. Well, I think what makes Apex home for a lot of people is that even as Apex has grown, it has kept a very small town feel. And you hear people talk about that all the time. And it was real easy to see that when it was, you know, 5,000-6,000 people here. But now there's, you know, 70 plus. I don't even know what the number is now. But even now you hear that and you see it, particularly in downtown. You see it at festivals, you see it at special events. And I think that's the biggest thing that, you know, makes Apex home, you know, for a lot of people. For me, when I was here, the 35 years plus that I was here, it was definitely the family feel, because I have a very, very small family. And so to this day, I mean, I feel a lot of the people that are still here that I worked with, I still feel like they're part of my family, and still stay in touch with them, and and talk to them, and you can still hear that family togetherness, tight knit thing, and I think that's what's to me. That's always what's made Apex special. Well, Apex has so much potential, and I think a lot of that potential is because of what has happened in the past. And I said something earlier about the small town feel and the family atmosphere and all of that. I hope that Apex can continue that. That certainly seems to have always been a focus in Apex. I think Apex's potential is unlimited. It's been it's always been a place that has valued citizen input, and a place that has tried to be forward looking. And I see that now with, some of the things I hear about transportation, some of the things I hear about, obviously the parks and the greenways, that foundation's there. And I think Apex's potential is unlimited. And I think it's pretty obvious from the number of people that are moving here. People want to move here. They want to move here for a lot of different reasons. And I think that more than anything speaks to how bright the future is for Apex. Well, I think, when I look back on my 35 years here, 35 years plus, the thing that I was just truly blessed. I was blessed to have an incredible staff, a great team of people that truly worked as a team, and to be able to work with, really good coworkers, department heads, elected officials, town management. And to me, that's another thing that really makes Apex, special. And that's what made it special for me, because my plan when I came here, I tell people all the time, I was going to stay about 4 or 5 years and move on to something bigger and better. And I tell people, I never forget, some fellow Parks and Recreation directors told me many years ago that if I would just stay focused and just do my job and let it happen, that I'd spend my whole career in Apex, because Apex had that much potential. And so that certainly came to fruition. That turned out to be true. But the biggest thing for me is I was just so blessed to work with so many wonderful people.